At 6 o'clock, I'll call the meeting to order. If everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, a brief announcement with this new venue. This microphone does not turn on and off, and I'm told it's very sensitive that it can even pick up the conversations in the hallway. So if everyone would please be aware of that. 1.3, approval of agenda. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the amendment to move Section 2, revenue neutral hearing, and Section 3, budget hearing, down below Section 5, recognitions and presentations, to allow the public time to be present for both hearings since the venue changed to Edgerton, Kansas.
Second.
All those in favor? None opposed. Section 5, 5.1, presentation by students from Edgerton Elementary.
Yeah, you can go ahead and use that.
I would probably need that.
Well, no, it's for the internet. It's for the, you have to use it.
All right. Can you hear? Is it working?
There's no amplification.
Perfect. All right. So thank you very much for the opportunity for us to present tonight. We are going to present about a program that is only a year old. So I'm going to turn it over to them first. So Brenly.
Good evening. My name is Brinley Thompson, and I am a fourth grader at Edgerton Elementary. We are excited to share about a special program at Edgerton Elementary called the Fourth Grade Ambassadors. This program gives us the oldest students in the building a chance to be leaders and role models for the younger kids. As ambassadors, we get to welcome students, wave to parents, and help get students into school and out of school safely. We also help with the kindergarten students at lunch. They sometimes need help opening cheese sticks, Cheez-Its, and opening their milks. They look up to us, and it feels good to be someone they can count on. This program is important because it helps us learn responsibility. We are not just helping others, we are learning how to be leaders. This program teaches us teamwork, kindness, and how to take pride in our school. Being a fourth grade ambassador makes us proud of Edgerton Elementary. We know we are making a difference. The younger kids smile when they see us, and we feel more connected as a school family. Fourth grade ambassadors help us grow as leaders and learners. Thank you for letting us tell you about our special program.
All right. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves in just a second, but we put together a little PowerPoint just about the ambassadors. It is open to all fourth grade students. They can sign up for one of three opportunities. They can be a morning greeter, an arrival person. They can help with lunch, which is really consists a lot in the beginning of the year of helping with cheese sticks and Cheez-Its. We do try to teach the kindergartners how to open their milks, but they like the fourth graders helping them. And then they can also sign up as a dismissal assistant. That means they're waving at parents, they're helping kindergartners. If you've ever seen the Edgerton car loop, they walk out the kindergartners holding up what cone they're going to, but they don't know that means 4. They have 4 fingers up, but so they help guide them to where they're supposed to be. All of these kids have participated, but we're only a few weeks into the school year. So you'll get to hear a little bit from some of our older kids that have already done this. We do believe that it builds leadership skills, encourages responsibility. It does create connections between our older and younger students. I hope it builds confidence and self-esteem in these guys, and then promotes citizenship, school pride, and kindness. Our younger students, we have a couple here, feel supported and connected with those older kids. They wave at them in the hall. If you've ever been at kindergarten drop-off early in the year, there's a lot of tears. It helps when they're greeted by a 4th grader who says, hey, I'll take you down to class. It's less scary than maybe with an adult. So they really help those kindergartners get over those early fears, and then they kind of get sad in second semester because they don't need them anymore and they take off for class themselves. And then again, it does build strong community. The last slide, if it works, is a chance for you to hear a little bit from a couple of our 4th grade ambassadors from last year. Maybe.
Possibly. We're in agreement. We're good.
She's saying it's amazing. She learned a lot. So we had 3 different students from last year who are now Pioneer Ridge students just share what being a 4th grade ambassador meant to them and how it helped them grow. So hopefully you'll get a chance to watch that, but I'm not going to hold the meeting because you're not going to be able to hear it anyway. So I do want these guys to introduce themselves and give you their names. And then we do have a special gift for Edgerton.
As you all know, I'm Brindley Thompson. I'm Kaylee Tucker. I'm Amelia Lawrence. I'm Samuel Gertis.
And they're all 4th graders. We did bring, I'll let you guys show them. Our theme this year is learning is an adventure. And so our 4th graders took on an art project that you'll see at the board office where they drew different important monuments around the world. I picked my favorites that we're going to gift to the city of Edgerton. Sam pulled that one. We did the Eiffel Tower, and then a little bit more sentimental, someone created the green space. So we'll be gifting that to Edgerton. So thank you guys for your time.
I think we'll take a picture probably.
You can.
That's cool.
Right here. 1, 2.
Hey, parents, come on up if you'd like.
Beth, you can take pictures too if you want.
Yay, green space. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Yes.
I will make a motion to go out of session for this portion.
I'll second it.
I missed, I apologize.
We have to go out of session to do the revenue neutral rate hearing, like two totally separate meetings.
Yeah.
I'll second it. All those in favor? None opposed. All right, I will call to order for the revenue neutral hearing, 2.1. 2.2, resolution to exceed revenue neutral tax rate for 2025-26 budget. We need to speak.
Whereas.
Do we have any speakers that want to discuss the revenue neutral rate? All right. Do I have a motion to approve to exceed the revenue neutral rate?
I'll make a motion to approve the revenue neutral rate.
Second.
All those in favor?
I apologize, resolution. And I think it's a roll call.
Oh, yeah, it is a roll call. I actually have a form here. Lana Sutton,
Yes.
Greg Chapman,
Yes.
Keith Freeman,
Yeah.
Jeff Miller,
Yes.
Patrick Ross,
Yes.
Katie Williams,
Yes.
and Tom Redden is yes. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education of USD 231 that the 2025-2026 budget with a levy of property taxes exceeding the revenue neutral tax rates calculated for 2025-2026 as adjusted pursuant to KSA 79-2988 is hereby adopted. Adopted this 8th day of September 2025 by USD 231 Gardner Edgerton in Johnson County, Kansas. 2.3, adjournment of hearing.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor? None opposed. 3.1, call to order budget hearing. 3.2, the budget hearing for 2025-2026.
But I need somebody to call it to order.
Go.
Sorry.
I said call to order.
I know, but, okay.
You want,
Do we need a
motion in
second?
Yeah,
I'll second.
All those in favor?
thank you.
None opposed. Do we have any speakers for the budget? Nope. Read this one.
No, you just.
3.3, adjournment of hearing.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Yeah, just do, you didn't say motion. There you go. Katie motion.
Greg second. All those in favor? None opposed. And back in session.
You need to motion for back in session too.
I'll make a motion to come back into session. All those in favor?
There it is.
None opposed.
They're not all this confusing, I promise.
Now we're on track.
6.1, commendations and notes of appreciation presented by Lana. Actually, no, we have nothing for 6.1. 7.1, request to speak. We have one speaker tonight, Carrie Schmidt.
And you hold the microphone. It doesn't amplify, but it goes to the internet.
I'll try to do
Here we go. I'll do the timer here, let you know we have 30 seconds left. Does that sound okay?
Motion to get a second there.
So when you're ready now.
It doesn't amplify.
It doesn't in here.
It just goes to the
Perfect.
the online.
Okay. Thank you. The passages I'm about to read are from a sexually explicit book titled Jesus Land by Julia Shears. I requested a review of the content in May of 2024, and due to your policy change, this was retained. Next to the title on your district library services webpage, it states, quote, reviewed by the superintendent following policy change, retain in collection, end quote. Page 112. I open my eyes in a boozy blur, see his penis jutting from his shorts. He grabs it by the root. Lick it, he says, in his thick voice, pressing my head towards it. I've heard of girls giggling about blowjobs at school. It's something a boyfriend requires of you. I stare at Scott's penis. There's a pearl balanced on the tan tip. It smells like liverwurst. Like a lollipop, he's begging now, breathing hard. He wags the penis with his hand to get my attention. I close my eyes and stick up my tongue, and it touches the side of it. Open your mouth, Scott says, and I do. He puts it between my lips and grabs my hair and pulls my head up and down on it. A moment later, he groans, and something slimy spurts into my mouth that tastes like pool water. Scott collapses onto his back on the mattress, and I spit the slime onto my parents' white bedspread and roll onto my back beside him. Page 131. I walk to the Venetian blinds and close them, then stand on the other side of the darkened room to strip to my bra and panties and rush to the bed before Scott has time to inventory my imperfections. Scott puts his arms around me and unhooks my bra. Roll over, he says, I want to see you. He pulls off my underwear, then retrieves a silver square from the nightstand and kneels between my legs and rips it open. It contains a flesh-colored circle, which he rolls over his penis like pantyhose. So that's a condom. Really, he asks. I nod. He pushes my thighs apart with his knees and spits into his hand and wipes it between my legs before lowering himself onto me and prodding my inner thigh with his dick. I bite my bottom lip and look into his eyes. As Scott pokes and prods at me, stop fighting me, you only make it worse. I inhale deeply, letting my legs fall flat on the bed. I know from the groaning noises that he makes that he's inside me, and I try to feel something to stay focused on the moment. This is Scott, my boyfriend, but it's numb there. Scott's eyes are closed as he moves inside me. It's over quickly. Did you like it? Scott asks as he pulls off the condom. White liquid bulges at the tip of it. Sperm. It was fine, I said. Board members, your superintendent believes that this and the rest of the sexually explicit content in this book is healthy and a good choice to give to adolescents. Do you know that books in the library can be used for a book report and given a grade after reading and writing about it? By your policy change, you are enabling and supporting the grooming and exposure of pornography to minors. Currently, your legacy will be how you unanimously voted to keep porn in our district. And are you really okay with that? And are you really just going to look the other way? Or are you going to do something to reverse this decision, to retain this book and change your legacy? I don't know. Lana? Jeff?
Thank you, Carrie. That will bring us to 8.1, grants and donations by Lana.
All right, we have a lot of very generous donations, so it's going to be a lot. We're going to start out with the donation to Nike Elementary, so distribution center, community goodwill, $500 worth of Justice products for school staff. Snacks, we had $200 donated to Nike Elementary, help fund Mrs. Melton's classroom project. The New Life City Church donated to Edgerton Elementary to help provide school supplies in the needed classrooms. So we had school supplies of crayons, markers, notebooks, dry erase markers, papers, and etc. Snacks. And Walmart Optical to Moonlight, nurse staff snacks and eye kits. 2 backpacks full of 3rd grade supplies was donated by Linda Farms to Moonlight Elementary. Again to Moonlight Elementary, nothing bug cakes from Olathe, donated staff treats, 4 dozen mini bug cakes. Let's see. Again to Moonlight Elementary, New Life Church, snacks for students, snacks and cheeses, sandwich, crackers, dots, pretzels, chips, fruit snacks, etc. $50 was donated to Madison Elementary by Walmart Vision Center as a welcome back to school gift, spreading the joy to staff. Again, $50, Madison Elementary by Rosh Coleman, welcome back staff treats. Teacher supplies to GEH Trails, teacher and student supplies to start the school year. Madison donor was our amazing Madison families, providing teachers and staff with snacks and treats. $400 in basketballs was provided by the Green family to Madison Elementary to provide students with PE and recess equipment. Central Bank, again to Madison. Shredding cheer and welcome back staff, goodie bags and office supplies for teachers and staff. $200 snacks for our low-income students by New Life Community Church, Grand Star Elementary. Again, Grand Star Elementary, New Life Community Church, school supplies for our low-income students, $300. $100 of lunch items for staff appreciation by Price Chopper to Pioneer Ridge. Gardner Edgerton High School by the Hope Market. Cinnamon rolls for freshman students, 480 cinnamon rolls. Trade Net, Gardner Edgerton High School, GHS, $2,400 worth of materials and time. $5,000 worth of breakfast snack items, drinks, and other supplies for Welcome Week, donated by Main Street Credit Union to the district office. District office, Emporia State University, provided $193.55 for beverages from new certified staff at Groundhouse Coffee. Gardner Chamber of Commerce, Welcome Week, provided a Mexican lunch for Welcome Week participants. Mid-American Bank, Welcome Week, provided box lunches from Planet Sub for Welcome Week participants. Central Bank of the Midwest for Welcome Week, catered lunch from Hy-Vee for all Welcome Week participants. Again, Welcome Week, Cosentino's Price Chopper, catered a pasta lunch, and $10,000 worth of Kansas City Worlds tickets was donated by Newkirk DLR Group and Gardner Edgerton Foundation, for a grand total of $19,293.55 plus supplies. So thank you to everyone for your generosity to our district.
Thank you, Lana. That will bring us to the consent agenda. 9.1, minutes from the regular meeting held on August 11th, 2025. 9.2, financial statements. 9.3, approval of contracts purchases. 9.4, memorandum of understanding approvals. 9.5, June 2025 KASB recommended policy updates per KSB Legal Policy Services. And 9.6, approval of claims.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All those in favor? None opposed. Nothing for 10. 11.1, department presentation, The Science of Reading by Dr. Jason Jones, Dr. Jennifer Holt, Brittany Robinson, and Mandy Hodo.
Are you going to join me? All right. Well, last month I had the privilege of speaking to you about our curriculum process, and you had a quick preview of the science of reading, which is in fact a part of our documented curriculum. But one of the focuses we have within our district that we know is supported by research is teacher clarity. So my next slide is going to speak to what it is that we want you to get out of today's presentation. So we are learning, or in this case, you are learning about the science of reading and its impact on our school district, specifically with our curriculum. I mean, this is important for you to understand because we all serve our students here as learners, and we want you to be able to explain how we are using the science of reading research, how it's embedded within our curriculum, and what those practices of instructional shifts are within our district. We have some very specific examples of video clips of teachers who have made that shift in their classroom, and they're going to give you some firsthand experience. But with me today, their names have already been shared, but we decided who best to share with you about the science of reading than some of our very own reading experts within our school district. So we're going to start with Dr. Jennifer Holt, who's the assistant principal at Madison Elementary.
Hi, thank you. Well, this is only my second year here in Gardner. It is my 24th year in education, and my focus for most of those years has been on literacy. I'm National Board Certified teacher, specifically in elementary reading. I've served as a district literacy coach, a site-based literacy coach, and I'm a letters facilitator. 2020 is when I started my own learning about the science of reading, and I have never looked back. I say all of this to say, if you ask me what I think of the game this weekend, I will not know what sport you're talking about. But if you want to know anything about how our students learn to read, pull up a chair. I could talk to you all day. Okay, so when you hear science of reading, it's important to know that this term is getting thrown around a lot as a marketing tool. So I have the Reading League's definition, and we've provided you with the defining guide from the Reading League. But really, like, the way I would summarize it is it's 50 years worth of research, and we've reached consensus on some things. So in medicine, they have a standard of care, and when people don't follow it, they ask why. Science of reading isn't that concise, but it does give us a solid foundation of what we should be doing. Unfortunately, there's a lag between researchers and practitioners. So most education systems are at different places on their journey with understanding what reading instruction should look like based on scientific research. So that said, there's been growing momentum, and we're seeing instructional shifts as we shift into the science of reading, and they're often subtle, but really important. Okay, so for example, we used to explicitly teach children to guess what a word might be based on the picture. In this example, we'd read the first page to them, then have them point to the words and guess based on the picture what the words might be. Now, we know from research on brain activity during reading that good readers attend to every letter in a word. So we should not promote just looking at the picture and making a guess. So in a text we would use with that same student now might look like this. If a child has been taught these letters and the short vowel sounds, they should be able to sound out each of these words. So rather than making a text predictable, we make it decodable. Another example of a shift, we used to teach students to read with books we knew they'd be excited about. And then we'd pick reading skills that you could use that book to practice. And now we go the other way around. Now we teach word parts in systematic order, and then we find text to explicitly practice what we've just taught. And sure, we let kids read high interest books, but we don't limit our reading instruction to them. The last shift I want to talk about is that we now know how many students we can expect to be able to read and by when. We used to say, most kids will catch up by third grade. It's fine. And what we know now is that if a kid isn't there by first grade, the likelihood of them getting there by third grade, there's a huge gap without targeted intervention. So we also know that about 40% of kids, they're going to learn to read almost no matter what if we've got them in school in a good program. But with really smart instruction, we can get at least 90% there. So we can really have an impact on those numbers. Kansas has been doing some really smart things in literacy and the science of reading. One of the big things was a grassroots task force back in 2018 that began legislating some requirements around literacy instruction so that we, as a state, update our practices. A couple of things that came out of that initiative and our state work in literacy are the Seal of Literacy requirement for licensure, letters training for educators across the state, which is one of the approved pathways to get that seal, curriculum requirements for districts who use state funds, universal reading screening to identify which students are struggling. We use FastBridge. And then they have required training on dyslexia and structured literacy, which is a term you'll hear within science of reading. So that's a brief overview of science of reading. When you hear that term, feel free to swing by Madison anytime if you want to talk more. But for now, I want to pass it over to Brittany and Mandy to talk about how we've been leaning into the science of reading here in Gardner.
I am Brittany Robinson. I'm the reading specialist at Gardner Elementary, and I have been in the district for 15 years, so I can confidently say that the science of reading is not something new in our district. Back in 2019, we went through a resource allocation, and the state standards had changed, and we're finding out that research was strong about the best ways to teach children how to read was through the science of reading. Our district jumped at the opportunity to train our teachers. So we sent a group of teachers and reading specialists to DeSoto in the summer of 2019 to the Letters Second Edition training with the intent of bringing back professional development to our teachers. Our district's TASN MTSS teams were also hard at work putting systems into place to meet our students where they were and support them to be successful readers using the best practices of reading instruction. Our schools have put multi-tiered systems of support, or MTSS, into place to notice what our students need in reading and respond accordingly. When we see any student struggling, we can use our data and make adjustments to our instruction and add supports to help them succeed. Some examples of this would include additional blocks of time for instruction, one-on-one support, family communication, and changes to instructional practices to meet the kids where they are. We added some phonemic awareness and phonics supplements to boost our reading instruction and align to the science of reading. As a district, we have 4 letters facilitators trained in order to bring this impactful professional development to our teachers face-to-face. And currently, as a district, we have 87 teachers who have finished a complete letters program. And this is not only people who are required to, but educators who are very interested and want to do better. 32 educators who are currently in year 2 of the 2-year letters program, 23 educators who will be starting year 1 this year. We have 4 administrators who are currently enrolled in year 1 of letters for administrators, 9 administrators who are currently enrolled in year 2 for letters for administrators. And then another thing that Dr. Holt mentioned was the Seal of Literacy pathways. So besides letters, Kansas has provided another pathway or other pathways for teachers to gain their Seal of Literacy to their license. And many of our teachers are taking those. One of them is called the Foundation of Science of Reading course, which is in partnership with the Kansas Board of Regents. And so many universities around are providing those classes for them. And there's also the ability to pass approved reading exams. And then the last one would be approved reading trainings, such as letters and some other programs as well. These pathways have given our teachers many opportunities to earn their Seal of Literacy. Now that we have the training of science of reading, our teachers are putting into practice what they've learned, and our students are greatly benefiting from it. And I, like our videos aren't working, I was told, but the videos are of Beth Barrett, who is a 2nd grade teacher at Gardner Elementary. Beth was a early adopter of the letters training. She went in 2019 with that cohort. She also attended the first cohort that the whole district went through in 2021. She is an advocate for helping students read. She is wonderful at explaining where her students are to parents and giving them the resources and helping train them on how they can help her kids read at home. She sees great results in her classroom, and she was talking about basically in the 2021 she was recruiting teachers to join this training and telling them what benefits she found. And then we videoed her just last week talking about the things that she's learned since then and how she really sees this as the ability to apply research to her classroom and giving teachers almost like the medical field where you go to the doctor and something's wrong with you, she knows now what to prescribe for students when it comes to their reading difficulties. And so she has the confidence, and she then is able to build her students' confidence. So hopefully we'll have a chance to watch those at some point, but she did a great job.
Okay, I'm Mandy Hodo, Nike Elementary Reading Specialist, and I'm going to go through just a few different models over that kind of explain the science of reading. They're also part of the Reading League booklet, so you can kind of follow along. And then when we get to the Scarsborough's rope, I actually have a little visual for you, because visuals are fun. So the first one is the simple view of reading. So teaching reading, this formula shows us that word recognition, that's looking at words and reading them. And if we know language comprehension, so if we can understand the words just within our daily life, communicating, that if these 2 things are happening, then reading comprehension is going to come along. So it's a multiplication, not an addition. So it's not word recognition plus language comprehension equals reading comprehension. So we go back to, I think 3rd grade is where we start learning our multiplication. If we are really good readers and we can pick up a book and we can just read the words, but we don't have that language comprehension, we're not understanding the context, the vocabulary, we don't have that background knowledge, then our reading comprehension is going to have a product of 0. So in reverse, if we are having some difficulties with that word level reading, the phonics piece of it, but we have amazing oral vocabulary, we have great background knowledge. Again, if we don't have both factors, then our product is still going to be a 0. It is going to be impacted. Again, so if we have word recognition and we're able to read the words, it's just very slow and laborious. Maybe that's a 0.5. And then we have a strong language comprehension. That's a 1. We're still not getting that full product of our reading comprehension, and it will eventually impact the student. So simple view of reading. Simple, right? Let's teach them to read the words and then understand the language around them, and all kids are going to read. That is, again, a very simple view of it. What we know and what the research shows us is that teaching reading is more complex. Would you mind sharing these out with? So this is Scarsborough's rope. And with Scarsborough's rope, what we are learning and seeing is that the word level reading and the language comprehension is so much more intricate than what we see and we think of, especially for like my husband, who doesn't have that reading background or the teaching background. He's like, why don't they learn? Why aren't you teaching them? It is very, very complex. So just kind of looking through the bottom of the rope, you have the word recognition or the phonemic awareness. That's your red. I think I even highlighted them as I went. So the red is phonemic awareness. That is your ability to hear words and put those, or hear sounds and put those sounds together. So if we hear at, then we know that that word is cat. So that's a very basic example of it that we are working with our K-1 students on. But that is really important for the brain to be able to look at the sounds and blend them back together. But it's also really important for encoding or spelling to be able to have that skill. So phonemic awareness is the first one. The second would be decoding, which is going to be your phonics, all of those crazy patterns that make our language difficult if you don't understand the code. So that's where we have to, I think last month I talked about explicit and systematic within our curriculum. That is the part where we have to build on easier concepts and build to the more complex. And it is really important to have a proper scope and sequence with things because that phonics piece, in order to learn and understand one piece, then you have to build on it with the other, just like in a lot of different things that we have. You have to have that strong foundation. And then sight recognition is the next one. And this is kind of one of those shifts that Dr. Holt was talking about. Back in the day, I remember when I first started teaching first grade, we sent home sight word lists and the kids needed to memorize all these sight words. Well, what we know now is that that is not really how our brain learns to read. So that is a huge shift that honestly, some of our teachers are still using sight word and you'll hear them catch themselves and say, oh, high frequency words. So that is a huge shift that we have taken within our district to move to what are the better ways to teach those high frequency words, especially those irregular ones. Sight recognition basically is you look at a word and you can say it. So a student may have hippopotamus as a sight word because they've encountered it enough times and have seen it enough times, whereas another student may really struggle with the word the. They haven't had enough repetitions and haven't mapped it within their brain. So again, the word recognition is, we use sight words, but really it is any word that we have now mapped and can read as if by sight. What Dr. Holt had talked about earlier is we're still attending to all those words, but we have literally seen it so many times that it's now mapped and wired in our brain. So going up to the top part of the rope, that's where in the simple view of reading, we had the decoding or the word recognition was that bottom, which is the white labels. And then the top labels, the yellow ones, are going to be kind of that language comprehension. So you got the background knowledge, which is what we bring into the text that we know. That's important to note that my son, who tends to struggle with reading a little bit, he can pick up any kind of text that's on soccer and read it like a champ, and it can be well beyond his reading level. So I know that's something that Dr. Booth had kind of shared last month with like reading levels. That's where reading levels becomes very difficult because it is a band. If you look up here, the top rope is really where that band comes in because all of these things play a part in what kids can comprehend and understand. Background understanding is a big one. Another huge one is vocabulary. Being able to apply it in multi-meaning words is really important, and being able to use it and apply it in a lot of different ways. The next one is language structure. So that's grammar and sentence structure and how our language works together. It can be confusing, especially when you're reading a very complex sentence that seems like it's forever long, and you really have to unpack it as a teacher. I show my students, sometimes my sister's medical, she's a hospice nurse, she's got a medical book that I bring in, and I show them, guys, I have to stop and rethink about what this says because it's got vocabulary I don't know. It is very complex, and I don't have the background knowledge. So my comprehension actually is lower when I read this medical text versus when I read something that is on the science of reading. The next one is verbal reasoning. That's where inferencing and metaphors and all that figurative language that can make things a little tricky because it's not actually saying what you think it's saying. And then the last one is just the literacy knowledge, which is genre, print concepts for our kindergarten and first graders, the directionality, how we turn a page. We read left to right, top to bottom, so those kinds of things. I share all of that with you because it is very complex. And as you're looking through some of the examples that I'm going to pull in through our curriculum, you will see some of these different components that we have really hit and been intentional with adding to our curriculum. The last component, which makes reading actually rocket science, that's Louisa Moats, who is one of the authors of Letters, says that teaching reading is rocket science because not only do we have to know how to teach all the reading parts, we also have to know how that brain works. Language is not easy. We have been speaking for a long time, but reading is actually more of a fairly new concept. Been around for millions of years, yes, but it's not something that we are hardwired to do. And so when we're looking at the pathways that students take, an average student may be 6 to 20 repetitions to really solidify a concept, but our striving learners, it may take upwards to 100 or 200 in order for that same concept to be mapped within their brain, which it kind of goes back to that word recognition that I talked about. So again, this is all to say that teaching reading is extremely complex, which is part of why we see all the pieces and why it's important that we are putting the things that we are putting in place for teacher professional development, but then also more of a map within our curriculum. So now here's our curriculum. I can click on each of these things. I just went ahead and did a screenshot to show you, but if you want me to actually click into anything, I'm more than happy to do that. So if you see off to the left here, Within, this is part of our foundation. Actually, both of these screenshots are foundational skills. And if you look at the yellow one off to the left, I highlighted, that's where phonemic awareness is. You have print concepts clear up above, which is the top part of the rope. You have, it's kind of hard to read up there, phonics and word recognition, which again is that part of that bottom part of the rope. Fluency, that's where all those things have to be put together tightly, because if we are able to read the words but we aren't able to read them fluently, then we are still going to see some issues within the reading. And then we have language, reading literature, and reading informational. So that's, again, that upper rope. So just within the foundational skills alone, all of those portions are in there. And then off to the right, last month, again, I talked about how important scope and sequence is, and making sure that we're building complex on top of simple and building that way. So this is just to show that scope and sequence within it. So this was a kindergarten example. Another example is within our year at a glance document, some of the reference documents, we have included in K through 5, the letters, phonics, the letters, comprehension, writing checklists, and then also how to introduce a new word, so that vocabulary piece. So again, those are templates that teachers can use to put it into a organized fashion in order to present the content, whatever that may be. So those are, again, templates that are all within the letters that show what portions need to be included. And here is just another example. This one is 7th grade that has the literature, reading, literature, and writing. And within those substandards, you have vocabulary. You are still looking at spelling, even 7th grade. And in the last one, 12th grade, or 11th grade, I think is what I put in there. You'll see vocabulary. You're still seeing the writing, informational and fiction literature. And it just, again, while the bottom rope isn't necessarily as appropriate developmentally to be part of like the 7th and 11th grade, there is still pieces of it represented through the decoding and encoding portions. Okay, I went really fast. Questions that you may have, or thoughts, reflections for any of us?
I just really appreciate you guys doing it. I had the pleasure of taking one of my vacation days and going down to KSB the day before the Kansas convention, and took a whole half day on the science of reading, and it was amazing. They briefly went over the rope, but it was just really cool to see how we got there. You know, they were very clear that. Kind of like what you alluded to, you know, we were doing the best that we knew how to do, but once they added the science component, the research part of it to what we've always been doing, then they were able to kind of mesh all that together, the psychology and everything on when, how kids develop. It was amazing. You kind of touched on it, but I would definitely encourage any and all teachers, while they're providing, I think they're either doing a reimbursement or they're paying for it. But the Kansas Board of Regents is doing the science of literature. You guys had it up there. Letters. Yeah. No, not letters. It's
science of reading.
That's it. They're paying for it if you go to a certain school, is my understanding.
They're having funds set aside that they're referred to as scholarships. So they're able to have it for free, and the state is able currently to give a stipend at the end if you score a passing score on their post test.
Yeah. So I would definitely encourage that. At one point we had a former state senator said that she would love to have a conversation between Pittsburgh and our district to kind of talk about anything that we might be able to do for our own district. But when Pittsburgh and the ladies from Washburn talked about the science of reading, I mean, the passion behind, you know, what they you could tell one of them had basically decided she was going to retire. And when this happened, she was just so energized that she kept going. So this is definitely some really cool stuff. And I'm glad that it's getting into our district. Thank you.
And I know Dr. Holt, you kind of mentioned it, but also she is leading another cohort with letters, and those are during our flex days. So if you guys want to join for even a little bit, you would get another little taste of all these different components, but it is a pretty complex and rigorous coursework with letters too. So,
Well, I'd venture to say that what we could do if you wanted to get a taste too is we could do the letters for administrators for any of you that would like to. And it's self-paced. It's fine.
please do it.
But it's a good introduction. And so I wanted to also, one, you all are amazing. And we wanted to showcase you all in front of everybody because what we have going on here is incredible. But I wanted to highlight even a step further. One is I want to bridge to next month, because next month we're going to talk about a multi-tiered system of support and how it's related to what our specialists are doing and all this. And you touched on a little bit, but there's a good portion of our kiddos that need substantial support. And we have a structure to do that. So we teach not only the kids that would do fine, most likely on their own even, but then those who need a little bit of support, and then those who need substantial support. One of the things that I've been telling groups lately is I've had these meetings talking about what we're doing as a district and our reading initiatives and all that, is to think back to when you were a kid. And I would challenge anybody in the room to tell me, how did teachers teach you to read? For any of us. And the answer I generally get is, and that's kind of the answer. What we were taught was we were given books and we just read, right? Because that's how it was done. We have come an incredible amount of way to really hone in on exactly how we should be teaching reading. Now, the other side of that, though, too, is it was less challenging to teach a kid to read when I was in school than it is now. A lot of the negative implications of being a kid in society today did not exist that take away from a kid's ability to read, because there's all sorts of opportunities to do stuff that is not reading, that's entertaining. And so we have a more challenging game that we play now, don't we? And you all have a lot of headwinds to work through. And so thank you very much for working through those headwinds and challenging and training our staff. Dr. Holt, really appreciate all the work that you're going to do. You have a cohort of what, 25?
We start on November 24th. Big part of the live trade. So letters has modules you work through. There's a live modules you work through. There's a live session, but the live session is kind of one of the critical parts. It's simulations where you go through these key ideas, and then you have activities where you simulate it to help take you back to that place where you were learning to read, to kind of help everything connect. So really, you're welcome. Pop in any and all of the day. Like, come in and see it. It's I enjoy it every time I do it. So
well done.
I do have a question. First of all, thank you, Dr. Jones, for posting our learning objectives. It didn't go unnoticed. So my background was in social emotional learning way back in the day. It's something I'm very, very passionate about. And it was interesting when you posted the brain and what parts of the limbic connection you're actually learning certain parts of reading. So my question is, for those kids who are already struggling with any stage of learning how to read, and they're also dealing with some other outside baggage that may be disrupting that limbic connection, they're really struggling to get into that frontal lobe. What is the approach to help them? And then you might not have time to explain all of it to me tonight. I'm super interested to hear about it though. Like, what is the approach to help those kids who are struggling constantly in their limbic system to be able to get to that point, to get ahead in their reading comprehension?
That's a great question. And do you guys have to say one more? That's like,
sorry.
On layering.
Yeah, we have no members present.
I would just speak to Dr. Dan Pollitt as our coordinator for social and emotional learning. So what he brings to our district then is the knowledge of trauma-informed practices. But one of the concepts that we addressed the past 2 weeks with our new teacher cohorts is the idea of psychological safety. And so one of the things that we have to do first and foremost is we have to attend to not only your physical safety, but your psychological safety. Because if I build this relationship with you, if I'm facilitating opportunities in the classroom where you can have positive peer relationships as well, you're more likely, it's not a guarantee, but you're more likely to be able to tend to task. But part of that is trust, and trust does take time. Trust is something that we spoke to our new teachers about. The terminology is noticing. The more that you can notice about students and be able to identify and point out to students, be able to capitalize upon something you hear someone say, be able to incorporate that into your lesson, the more that they're going to be have a sense of belonging and feel recognized within the classroom. So again, psychological safety is where I would say just offhand is going to be a big key piece to that, and just knowing how to respond to students and support them. A specific example that I brought up to our new teachers is I challenged them to really think about how it is they are asking students to seek help. So when I'm in a classroom and I see, for example, an elementary teacher say that they're going to sit at the back table, and if you're needing some help, please come to me. The challenge there is psychological safety is being broken because I have to now identify myself in front of my peers that I don't understand what's happening, and you're asking me to come to you. But we have to flip that script. So there are strategies that a teacher can put into place where the teacher is constantly noticing, constantly monitoring. So it could be that there is a system using technology. So it could be that there's a message going to a teacher. One of the strategies that we shared is on exit slips with Post-it notes. And so everyone's writing something. And so if you leave that on that desk, that teacher immediately collects it, you immediately have some feedback so you can support students in the next session or the next class period. So psychological safety and trauma-informed practices.
Thank you.
We
In addition
also,
to that, I'm going to say too, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Jennifer. Remember, that's one of our board goals is whole child support or whole child success. This board recognizes that, and we want our staff to continually elevate that as well. So it is a big deal.
does anybody remember the trauma of popcorn reading?
Yeah.
That's one of those shifts that we have found that doesn't help us get where we were trying to go. So we structure our reading groups completely differently, and our whole group tier 1 time differently. And then we give that customized support in different settings. So we're not putting kids on the spot where you're having an anxiety attack the whole time while you're waiting.
I still have nightmares.
Right? Yeah. We're moving away from that.
I really appreciate it. It's something I'm very passionate about. It's something I'm very excited about. And I hope that it reinvigorates all of us to really focus on our board goals that we set. And we all continue to not let ourselves get distracted by divisive, meaningless, trendy issues. And we can just continue to move forward and focus on this kind of good stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. 11.2, Superintendent Dr. Brian Huff.
All right, fantastic. I want to, and I'm not going to steal anybody else's thunder here, but I do want to thank our leaders of Edgerton for making this moment possible. So we have Beth Lynn running around somewhere. There you are. Thank you very much, Beth. And I'm not forgetting Levi as well. Thank you very much, Levi Meyer, and for putting this all together. This is not without absence of effort, and the City of Edgerton has done a great job of hosting us. Don Roberts is not around just yet. He had some excuse about a different meeting. I don't know. We'll give him a pass for the evening, though. I'm sure he'll show up at some point in time. As far as our group here on the board too, I want to give some props to Greg for having that brain session with Don, as looking at this space and saying, hey, this is a good place for us to do this at. And thanks for elevating it to a place where we could all get together and say, yes, it's a good idea. And I also want to give a lot of praise to to Deb, our fearless board leader here, who has done an enormous amount of work to make this work out. And so thank you, Deb. It's going off without a hitch. So, at any rate, appreciate all you coming to celebrate this time. Yeah, I should have said it, right? All right. That's all I have for this evening. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Dr. Huff. 11.3, comments by the board.
There you go. Never mind. You're skipping that part.
Skipping one part.
The board. Go ahead. Forget me.
11.3, comments by the Board of Education. I'll start off. And the problem with following the superintendent is he pretty much said everything I was going to say.
It's true.
But yeah, thank you, Greg, for reaching out and getting this going. Thank you for the city of Edgerton for hosting us. And I would like to see this happen once a year if we can. And that's all I have.
Thank the Gardner Police too for coming.
Oh yeah, thanks to Gardner Police for coming down to Edgerton. Did you have to get a map or?
Did you get a map?
I was not going to thank anyone because I always get to go first, and I know Greg's always, he said it, so I was not going to thank anyone, though I'm very grateful for that. I did want to make mention tonight, it's a bit far out, but the Special Education Committee's been working tirelessly, Shay and her team as well, to put together a family resource night that's coming up on October the 20th. It's going to be held at Trail Ridge Middle School at 5 p.m. that night, and it's an opportunity for families to come together to meet with providers that might be able to provide a variety of service, not only for our special populations, but for families on the whole into early childhood that might benefit from some of the services, not necessarily the ones the district provided, but out of district services will be able to meet with and providers. So it's a great opportunity to get those people all in one place to be able to talk to a lot of people that can make an impact on our kids at any stage of their growth there. So we're excited about that. Some of those things are just, speech, OT, sensory, even some athletic organizations will be part of that, community service, even some legal services to navigate some of those tricky paperwork hurdles that can come within those populations as well. So please keep that on your radar. I believe they've made a lot of arrangements and done a lot of work for this night so that there'll be childcare available, so that families that might have that burden on their shoulders can feel a little bit of ease and take the time necessary to visit with those folks. So that's, again, October the 20th at Trail Ridge Middle School at 5 p.m. And then I also wanted to thank Dr. Jones and his team. Tonight, one of the things they just said, and I hope it carries through not only within what they've shared this morning with the new teachers that are this evening and sharing with new teachers, but I don't think that we can underestimate the impact and the positive impact of purposeful noticing amongst our entire student population, and not only that, but within our family populations. And noticing what's affecting them and maybe affecting them negatively. Noticing what that we can do to create positive outcomes, or positive student and teacher outcomes. So there are things that seem to be quite obvious that we don't make purposeful. So to hear us speak to the fact that this needs to be a purposeful action is encouraging. And I'm so thankful to hear those things that seem small when they're stated here that can have a huge impact. So thank you for that. And please share that again. I'm glad that they shared that during the new teacher, because those are the sort of things that you don't think of on day one, but make an impact on day one within your classroom. So thank you for that. And that's it.
I just want to say thank you again to Edgerton for hosting us. When I was here for the grand opening, this is something that Don and I mentioned, talked about even then. And it's such a beautiful place. It's really nice that we were able to get out here. It's also really nice to be able to drive around the old neighborhood. I can see my old house from here, so it's kind of nice to be able to drive around and see all the really cool things that Edgerton has now that I didn't have as a kid. So really, really cool, and really appreciate you guys hosting us.
That's all I got.
Well, I'd like to say thanks to Edgerton for hosting us. This is nice. We should do this once a year. And then I want to just make a statement. I typed something out here. There's been a lot of stir over the changes to the high school finals opt-out incentive. The intent was to reward students, but the current system puts attendance above achievement. While showing up matters, academic excellence should matter more. Right now, students with a C can skip finals. But is that setting average, really preparing them for the real world? A C is not striving for excellence. It's doing the bare minimum, allowing students to bypass finals with a mediocre performance sends the wrong message that showing up is enough. In truth, that's unacceptable. Our test scores are already below where they should be. If we accept mediocrity, we reinforce it. Other districts don't even offer this as an option, and for good reason. Finals are a reflection of what both students and teachers have accomplished over a semester. Lowering that bar lowers the expectations for everyone. So I challenge this board, the administration, parents, students, let's raise the standard. Let's reward true excellence, not just attendance. That's not good enough. Our students' futures depend on their ability to aim higher, strive for excellence in everything they do. Let's make sure the culture of this district says that loud and clear. We believe in excellence and nothing less will do.
I do agree with that, Jeff. I really appreciate you bringing that out. That was something that I've seen on social media quite a bit as well. And it was really striking to me, some of the comments that, some of the parents had, which, we've kind of talked about, or I've talked about anyway, apathy towards education. And, some of the parents came on and they said, well, finals don't matter anyway because they make them worth nothing. They're nothing. And, it's not been that long since I've been out of high school, and I remember being terrified about finals. So that was just interesting to see that C was the minimum, which is I couldn't find the phrase that I'd researched a few days ago, but whatever we set our lowest bar to, that's going to be the average, and that is really frustrating to see. And it's not just at the high school. There's all kinds of stuff we made. The cell phone policy, I think one of the versions had that they could use their cell phones in seminar if they had a D. I believe it was even lower than a C. So I would kind of echo what Jeff's saying, and I would love to see us trying to encourage a much higher, make the bar higher. Let's. C was the minimum. I mean, we used to get grounded for C's, and now we're kind of rewarding them. And I would also encourage next year, the wording used was that the high school changed their policy, but I believe it's actually a procedure because we set policy. But I would encourage the high school for next year to either not have finals be opt-out, or if they do, have it be where finals are actually going to be something difficult, something that actually showcases what they learned over that semester or year, depending on which class. That was disheartening to see several comments on Facebook that the parents themselves, it wasn't even kids, parents like, oh, those are jokes. That was heartbreaking to hear. So I appreciate you saying something.
Well, it was parents that reached out to me questioning this, and that's what made me do a little research and think about it a little bit.
Jeff, I do appreciate you bringing that up and challenging all of us. Just to second that, I mean, if I got a C in school, unless I was struggling and staying after and just really busting myself, I was grounded. We can do better. And on a happy note, again, this is a beautiful space. Great job. And thank you to everyone for hosting us.
All right. That will bring us to 13.1, adoption of the 2025-26 budget.
Okay, we're at the final step of the fiscal year 26 budget for legal purposes. Just a reminder that the budget that has been presented to you, that has been presented to the public, was built on the building needs assessments. And the building needs assessments do take into consideration the achievement of our students and the growth. And so I just want to make sure that everyone's aware that it's not just a bunch of numbers on paper. It's coming from our buildings telling us what they need and where they need us to spend money for the success of our students. Another reminder, it only sets the legal maximum for spending authority. It doesn't mean we're going to spend all of that, so just also reminding you of that. And then the final mill rate will actually not be settled until they certify the assessed valuations in November. It will not go up. It will be where it's at, what we are proposing, or it may go a little lower as additional properties are added to the tax rates. Do you have any additional questions about the budget or the mill rate that we have proposed?
Is this an action item?
Please.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the 2025 and 26 budget as presented.
I'll second.
All those in favor? None opposed. 13.2, benefits renewal for 2026 benefits renewal for USD 231.
Okay. We know the last couple of years we've been before you with a lot of changes in benefits. We are so thrilled to tell you there are no changes this year. It is fantastic. The partnership that we have gone into with Blue Cross and with Delta Dental and all of the work being done by Holmes Murphy and our own Amy Jackson, who was amazing. We were able to make sure that our renewal was within our budgeted amount, and there will be no plan changes for our staff members, which will be a welcome relief after the last several years of what we've lived through. So we're really excited about it. In a couple of instances, like the vision insurance, they're actually going to get more for their money. And then a couple of other voluntary products, the same thing. It's actually, for once, being able to say we're giving them more for what they're currently paying. The amount will go up. We'll change our paid benefit on January 1st to $855, so we'll go up $55 to match that structure that we have today. And then that's a 7% increase, and then our dental actually has a 5% increase, which will go up 68 cents of our paid benefit. So again, within budget. I'll let Jody share if there's anything else I'd like to share.
I just want to reinforce the work that Amy Jackson has done behind the scenes. She's a wonderful benefits manager, but she really focuses with the help of Holmes Murphy and Blue Cross on our priorities for our employees. And the reason we want to make this an action item every year is it's a big expense. But more importantly, it's an important part of the employee experience. We want meaningful benefits for all of our employees. So we want you to have the opportunity to consider this. We want our staff members in our community to see you taking this action. And it's odd to say we're celebrating a 7% increase, but this is good news. That's under budget, and it's continuity, which our employees are craving continuity. So this is really a good news kind of thing. And it was a job well done by Amy B and Amy Jackson, and so it's all good news. Are there any questions about it?
Nope, just thank you.
Yes.
It's also an action item.
I would make a motion to approve the 2026 benefits renewal package for USD 231.
I'll second.
All those in favor? None opposed. 13.3, job description for communication specialist. Dr. Booth.
Hey everyone, with Dr. Huff, and Ed shared this with you last week, or maybe even earlier than that. But, Dr. Marshall put a lot of work in that. I took a quick glance at it, so we know that you have expressed interest in adding this position. And so tonight, in front of you is a proposed job description. We've not done any interviewing or anything like that. So just to get your feedback on the position itself. And then if Dr. Huff and Amy can speak to the next steps after you've got your meeting. So just open up the conversation. happy to answer any questions for you.
I'm going to jump ahead of a potential question. That is that the motion tonight is only going to be to approve the job description, not to approve the position itself. Does that make sense? It still needs to go through our process, and Amy was the Hawkeye that caught us this morning as we were having a discussion. It still needs to go through the Finance Committee, our regular process, to be formally approved, and we'll come back to you guys and to be approved as a position. So the discussion tonight is only about, and obviously we can talk about the other as well, but it's really about just the job description itself.
Will salary be posted with the job description?
So typically the salary is commensurate with experience. We'll give you guys, as far as we go through the budget process and the Finance Committee, we'll put a range on salary. So if you guys approve the position, then yes, there'll be a range of salary.
I really appreciate you guys doing this. We have a lot of big goals as far as trying to get focused on education, kind of like what Jeff was talking a little bit ago, Katie and Heath were talking about. So we really gotta get some of the workload off of you so that we can have you helping focus on the educational side of stuff. You've done a phenomenal job. I do want to, it's definitely nothing that you've done. I've really enjoyed all of the graphics you've made and making all of the kind of streamlining everything. So hopefully you'll help the next person get onboarded. But I'm really excited to see the description and that we're potentially going to move forward with this. I think it's long overdue, and Lord knows you need some relief as well. So
I shared both with Ben and Dr. Huff. One suggestion I'd like to see is considered for tonight in both the qualifications and the responsibilities is adding just a bit that would discuss experience with and then the ability to partner on grant writing opportunities. I think that is something that's important for us, and that we have to continue to explore someone that can bring that expertise in to not only help write those, but also familiar with that process would be pretty beneficial. So if the board agrees, I'd like to see us add just a bullet point for both in both sections of the requirement before we vote on that. And we don't need to quite nail the phrasing tonight, but the gist of experience with grant writing and the ability to help with that process under the responsibilities.
I would agree.
the biggest ask, I definitely agree with you, Heath. The other ask that I would have as we're considering somebody is, I would love for us to look for somebody outside of our district, and somebody that is has fresh eyes that can see us as we are, instead of how we tend to have rose-colored glasses or whatever. Like, obviously, don't exclude anybody from internal, but I would love to see some external views on maybe how we could better communicate with the world around us than how we're currently doing it. But if there's nothing else, I would make a motion to approve the job description for the communication specialist with the amendments mentioned by Heath for USD 231.
Second.
All those in favor? None opposed. 13.4 RFQ and timeline for new legal services for USD 231.
In the absence of anybody saying anything, I will say that there's not a really full presentation here, other than there is an RFQ there at the request of the board. And I will emphasize, as the board has heard me say over and over again, we are at your disposal to help with the process. But we fully recognize this as a board process, and we will support you in that, because we also know that you have lives, and we have time to help you with that, and we will, as you need. And so the next two agenda items are just that, an RFQ, and then when it comes to it, I'll talk about a little bit about the options of 13.5 in the subcommittee.
So on 13.4, we've all heard some of the slowness in response we've gotten from our current council.
Yes.
Which is why this was put on the agenda, and kind of wanting to move forward and get something or someone more responsive to our needs.
I do think it's important to point out that MVP has been very responsive in the last couple of weeks. Be that as it may. So, and they did recognize they've let me know that they have they lost a few folks in their firm recently, which is why some of the work has lagged.
Do we still reach out to KASB for their legal services?
We do.
Needed?
So there are some things that are very appropriate with KESB, and that is a paid service for us, and we lean on them a lot. But there's other things that it just takes more time. And so we separate out. We actually separate items between 3 law firms right now: KESB, Quinn Mundorf, and MVP.
So I definitely do support the RFQ, and we'll make a motion at the end of this. But it has been very nice the last, to echo what Dr. Huff said, it's been really nice to be able to rely on the current one the last couple of weeks with some of the information that's come out, and for something for me, for us that we're dealing with personally, or as a group, whatever. It's been really nice to communicate that he's being responsive. But I still, it's never a bad thing to look out and see what else is out there. So with that, I would make a motion to approve the RFQ along with a timeline for finding a new legal service provider for USD 231.
I'll second.
All those in favor? None opposed. 13.5, create a subcommittee for new legal counsel services.
Okay, I added this one and I gave you guys a little bit of a rundown. But really, I believe this board has 2 options here. You can discuss applicants and the process and all that in an open meeting and do that once a month, and that's fine. You could also do this through a subcommittee that we would need to establish around the regular subcommittee process, which would mean it would be an open meeting that we post on the web and take minutes and all that sort of thing. I believe that the law as it's written right now really does not permit another option. That would be, so for instance, doing something in executive or having a subcommittee of the board that operates without it being an open meeting. So I would present those 2 options to the board and we'll go whatever direction you want to go.
I'm good with the subcommittee if everybody else is. And if so, we would need to establish those 3 board members. Is anyone opposed to a subcommittee? Nope. All right, let me see.
Are there, I'm not opposed, but I do have questions. Are there, like guidelines or like ethics expectations that will be posted for the people in the subcommittee? Say, well, I know a guy, I'm friends with this guy, he has a legal team, whatever you call it. We could use him.
So you already have board policy around conflict of interest. You also have board policy around the operations of subcommittees for the board. And so within those 2 policies, I believe it would define the operations of this committee. I'll also point out, Jody's wanting to talk. I'll also point out that the member of our team that would be part of that subcommittee would be Jody, which he's first just now hearing this, but I believe that'd be the most appropriate member of our team.
It's because you were so excited to talk.
Well, I was just going to respond a little bit further to Katie's question. Also keep in mind that RFQ is going to outline, the response, required response. So, it can't just be somebody's buddy that writes on the back of a, napkin that I want to be the attorney for the school district. They're going to have to respond reviewed by the subcommittee and then ultimately take it to the full board. So you're going to have a pretty clear vetting of anybody that's interested, or at least have a pretty good background and knowledge of who they are and what they've done and who they represent.
I just have one quick question in regards to the way the motion's presented tonight. I do think we should abstain from that motion. I don't know that it's necessary for us to put our own timeline within that. That makes it more difficult. So we can create a subcommittee to perform the evaluation and bring it back to the board for vote. But I think we should read it in without a date to do so, because it feels to me as though 6 weeks is a very short timeline for us to execute this, and then a subcommittee to review, or a subcommittee review. So I think we need to leave that open, and we'll bring it back when appropriate, whoever's on that committee. Is there any disagreement with us making that before we make a motion to move forward? Okay.
No, that's a good idea. No, I agree with that. I would have no problem being on the subcommittee if that's,
I would volunteer as well.
I would as well.
I can also help with it.
That's 4.
Yeah, it can only
Just be 3. Anybody want to jump off?
I'll arm wrestle then.
I got 4 names. Who?
I can,
Okay.
I'm sorry, are you sure? Yeah.
All right, so I've got Lana, Jeff, and Heath. Any arguments? All right.
I'd like to make a motion to create a legal counsel service subcommittee composed of Keith Freeman, Lana Sutton, and Jeff Miller to perform the evaluation of all applicants and bring the recommendation back to a vote.
I'll second. All those in favor? None opposed. 13.6.
I just go back. I want to make sure that we are in an okay place with this. And I'm sorry, Heath was talking. I had a couple other things going on. You may have already mentioned it, but so we'll plan on posting this RFQ tomorrow. Okay, and so Deb will assist us with that. So the goal would be, I think, just working through the process. It could be very likely the November meeting before we come back with a recommendation for the board. It's probably a good guesstimate. Does that sound appropriate? Okay.
13.6, executive session for attorney-client communication.
Are we going to go to a different room, or are we going to?
We're going to stay here. We're going to shut the doors. Well, Beth is going to shut the doors. She's already working on it.
Is our attorney here?
I will check. He always sits outside.
Do you think we'll need 30 minutes? Less? Anybody?
15 minutes.
Let's shoot for 15.
25.
Motion to go into executive session to discuss attorney-client communication pursuant to the exception for matters which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship under Oklahoma, and the open meeting will resume in the boardroom at 7:45 p.m. The board would like to invite Dr. Huff, Dr. Marshall, Frank Bell, Dr. Booth, and Mr. Greg Goheen, and Heather Peak.
Second.
Hold on.
All those in favor? None opposed.
think 10 would be enough.
It's ready.
Motion to go into executive session to discuss attorney-client communication pursuant to the exception for matters which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship under comma, and the open meeting will resume in the boardroom at 8:55 p.m. The board would like to invite Dr. Huff, Dr. Marshall, Frank Bell, Dr. Booth, Mr. Greg Zoheen, and Heather Peak.
You mean 7:55?
Yep, 7:55. That's what I meant.
Whoa.
I'll second.
All those in favor? None opposed. All right, we're back in session and on to 13.7, executive session for safety and security.
What do you want, Jody? 10 minutes.
10 minutes, yeah.
Motion to go into executive session to discuss school security pursuant to the exception under COMA for school security matters to ensure the security of the school, its buildings and or systems is not jeopardized, and the open meeting will resume in the boardroom at 8:10 p.m. The board would like to invite Dr. Huff, Dr. Booth, Dr. Marshall, Andy Price, Amy Drillmeyer, Mark DeWitt, Christy Witter, Mark Meyer, and Heather Peak into executive session.
I'll second.
All those in favor? None opposed. All right, we're back in session and on to 13.8, executive session for confidential student information.
5?
Yeah, 5.
She should know.
Motion to go into executive session to discuss confidential student information pursuant to the exception relating to actions adversely or favorably affecting a student under coma, and the open meeting will resume in the boardroom at 8:18 p.m. The board would like to invite Dr. Huff, Dr. Marshall, Dr. Booth, Heather Peak, and Shay Carter into executive session.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Unopposed. Session and on to 13.9, executive session for personnel. He needs 5 minutes.
No, it's
That'd be a bit.
yeah, start recording. Where's Mark at?
He's coming. I think he was grabbing his stuff. I said extension, but I meant executive session. They both started with B.
Motion to go into executive session, discuss the human resources personnel report for non-elected personnel, exception under COMA, and the open meeting will be in the boardroom at 8:35 p.m. The board would like to invite Dr. Huff, Dr. Marshall, Dr. Booth, and Mark Meyer into executive session.
I'll second. All those in favor? None opposed.
Can we just go back to doing it that way? Please.
In session and on to 13.10, action on personnel.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the personnel as presented.
I'll second.
All those in favor? None opposed.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
All those in favor? None opposed.
Hey, look who showed up.
Heath, you want to take 15.1? You want to take 15.1? 15.1, the next regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Education will be held on Monday, October 13th, 2025 at 6 p.m. in the board office in Gardner.
All right, well done.